Hi, this is Fran with Stampendous, and I'm continuing my watercolor series and hope you're finding it to be lots of fabulous Friday fun. And we will be doing video number 126 here, and we're going to start with some of our little winter pals and use them in a little bit different way and give you some quick and easy ideas if you want to make some Christmas cards or some little winter themes. And so I've pre-cut my paper here, and I'll mention a little bit more on the sizing. Like last week, this 2.5-inch strip works quite well, and now for the ones I'm going to do next, I'm using a 2.5 by 3.5, which gives me a nice size that works well on that A2 card to have a little vignette. So taping things down with my masking tape on the little cutting mat helps me square everything off, get that nice little margin. And with this last piece of masking tape here, you'll see how I just burnish it on a clean surface to reduce the tackiness, so that when I press it down and later I want to take it off, it'll come away without tearing my watercolor paper. Okay, now I'm ready to stamp. So let's just start right in here. And these little winter pals are great for little gift giving, or even thank you for gift giving ideas. And there's lots of little go together characters here. So let's do our little fox here with our squirrel. And I'm stamping a little bit further apart here so that I have room to add the little gift package. There we go. Okay, and then we'll stamp another little combination here with our little bird. So get our bird in place. Do our little tree. And because these are separate stamps, you can create a lot of different scenarios. That's the word, little scenes. We have a tall package and a short package. Okay. So each of these I did a little bit differently. I created a horizon line simply with paint in this one. In this one, I added a little pencil line or a little marker line. So we'll add that in on this one. And it looks like, again, I try not to get my head in the picture. I missed part of that little stamp, but not to worry. Okay, I'm going to just create a little wobbly line that runs behind all my little characters here. I'm not even going to pencil it. It's just a little wobbly line. It works going up or down. It's little hills back there, so it all works. So if you want some little words in the background, when I did it before, I got the wash kind of worked around it a little bit funny, so I'm going to leave it to add on at the end if you want it the next time. Okay, so again, we're doing our little wintry sky with the phthalo blue and just a touch of the black mix to give us a little bit more of a grayed winter sky. And I did a little bit more gray in the sky and a little bit more blue for the snow. So now with just some water on my brush, I'm going to lighten and kind of move this down and kind of just create some kind of little bands of color going across here for the sky. Okay, and that little horizon line can be as far up or down as you like. Soften that and think about what's happening with this little snowdrift so that it continues from one side of the character to the other and doesn't look unnatural. We're just making some little shadowy snowbanks in here. And on this one, I thought I would make sort of the light coming from the star on the tree and I would shadow it to the left and the right here. I'm going to blot just a little bit around the star in case we want to put a little more yellow there. While it's still damp, I'm going to add a little bit more gray to enhance my shadow. And on this side, I made a little bit darker color of sort of a blue-gray here. Maybe we'll even put a little bit of green in here. See what we've got on our brush. Okay, there's like a blue-gray. So now watch, my brush is mostly dry, and I'm doing some little vertical lines, okay? This is just, oh, that's really fun. That just gave me a little hint of some trees off in the distance. And there's my horizon line. Isn't that fun? Not so much fun. Maybe we'll add some over here. And again, little vertical strokes. It could be shrubs or trees. You don't know how far away they are. And I'm just doing them above that line. Okay. Let's go ahead and do some more of our greens. Okay, so we'll start with more of a lime green. I do replenish from my little tubes as we go along as needed. One set goes an amazing way. Of course, I can't even count how many paintings I've done now. So it's hard to say how many paintings from one set of 6 paints. But I do know I use a lot more yellow in all of my mixes, so I've had to replenish that more often than others. We've switched to some new lights that are LED, not nearly as hot as the old ones, and so it doesn't dry things up as quickly, so it's a more normal, and I hope it's giving you a brighter view of what I'm painting here. So we'll just fast forward some of this. You can watch me develop the colors, and if I'm moving around from one color area to another, it may be because I'm waiting for something else to dry. On each of these, I'm going to work with central lighting moving out this way. So we'll pretend the package is the bright spot here, and we'll shadow out to the sides. See if I can be consistent with that little bit different approach here. Magenta is my rose with marine blue, heavy on the rose. Okay, and now for our fox, we want a brown, but a more reddish brown. Get some water going here. So there's brown, and then heavy on the scarlet here. Test it out, still too brown. Okay, that's better. The brush is rather wet. I'll blot it off a little bit. Okay, here we go. Okay, and we'll leave some white on his little tummy. I'm quite pleased how just those little shadows begin to create a dramatic look here. Just connect that shadow a little bit better. Okay, and I think that's safer than trying to add too much yellow. I don't want yellow on the snow, and even in the sky starts to get a little bit tricky. But just the illusion of that creates a very fun little attention to the star on the tree. And then just another thought here. The little packages do give you an interesting option to stamp a fun little border. And I did this one all in blue, but I thought it was a little bit heavy. And of course you could do it in all different colors. But I quite thought just the little bands of color were fun. And so I'm just going to, on this little piece, do a little bit more of that to show you how easy and simple it is. And you might try it in a different color in a different place to just create a fun little border that matched the patterns of what you were doing. So here I'm just doing little brush strokes. They're not all that even, and they dried that way. That wasn't so much planned. I think I went back and tried to darken them at one end, but just practiced a little strip like that and do it in a color that enhances what you've got going in your little painting. So we'll work some of that into our finished cards. And now for the fun of revealing, taking away the tape here. Very fun. On the next ones that I'm going to paint with these little bunnies, this panel is the same 2.5 by 4 inch for this one, and this one is 3.5 by 4.5, and we're going to do a vertical one with that. So we'll fast forward some of this, but you'll see how I position the two pieces 1/2 inch apart, and I secure them in place while I tape the outside edges. And each time I put the tape down, I am burnishing it a little bit to remove some of the tack. And we'll just speed this up. Pine cone is a separate stamp that I will use a couple of times up here at the top. And on this one, instead of that little message that was from another set, I've got this fun little snowflake. We'll stamp that in like it's just landed. Get a little puddle going here of our phthalo blue. And we've borrowed some black here. It's become a commonplace to have a bit of it for our wintry skies. So I'm going to start with a little bit of it up here across the top edge, taped edge, just to give it some punch. And I want to be sure and soften that as it comes down. And on this one as well, I'm going to work in and around the greenery up here. And then again, to create a little bit of those hills off in the distance, I'm going to add a little bit of the green with the blue here and a bit of the gray to really tone it down. And again, with my little vertical strokes here, create illusion of little trees in the hillside behind. And then with a little bit more of our yellow with the marine blue, I'll get sort of an olivey green, a little bit of each of these greens. And I'm now going to create more of my pine branches. My brush is rather dry so that it holds that fine line, and I'm following the direction of these different sprigs of pine up here. And if it mixes in a little bit with the blue of the sky, I'm okay with that. But I waited till it was mostly dry. Let's add a bit of green here to our holly. Get my brush wet and lift away just a little bit of color here around my snowflakes. Blot it with a clean. Okay, so some of my colors ran together, but I think that's kind of fun. So you can see each time I paint them, different things happen as it goes along, and that's all okay. It adds variety. So we're going to do a little bit more of some blue down here to just kind of seat them in this little snowbank. I need a little bit of gray, but I'm avoiding that green there. There we go. So now they're not floating. Just some little hints of snowbanks in the distance. I did the bunnies pretty much the same way on each of these. So we'll start out with, again, it's nice to have little bits of all these different colors sitting here. And you can, with a damp brush, revive several different shades of brown. So let's see if we start with one a little bit more yellow to it. Okay, so here's a soft brown, and I'm going to leave some areas white, and you could make them more gray, but it's nice with all the blue grays to add some warmer browns. So doing it twice here kind of gives you a chance to see, cover other areas with the soft color first. Okay, and then I'm going to go a shade darker brown. And again, a rather dry brush. And just little strokes here, following where some of the lines of the stamp kind of give you some shadowing. And even that is wetter than I want, so I'm going to blot my brush again. Those little brush strokes that are going to make it look really. And so let's go to the colors that I pre-mixed in these compartments by squirting the paint in and stirring them together. Have gone a long ways, and they're only now needing to be replenished. But I had mixed a variety of different shades of brown. That is nice to have it done in a batch instead of mixing from the primaries each time. So here's our darker brown for our pine cone. Okay, and again, I've got now a third darker color. I want it to just be able to do these little details. These had a little bit more of a yellow brown. Let's see if I can add in just a little bit of that. Okay, and then just a little touch of some pinks here and there. I'm going to soften that by lifting away a little bit. And then for our little holly berry, and it's safest to leave your vivid reds till the very end. We need a little more brown up here on our pine cones. Perhaps a little bit darker green detail here on the pine. And remember that in the same way that no two of mine look alike, yours won't look alike either, but they should be fun, and I hope some other little tips for those backgrounds will really help you feel like you're creating a look of your own with your watercolor. So have some fun with that and take a look at our gallery of some finished cards now.